Hi, everyone. I'm Stan Mallow. Welcome to Paranormal Yacker. My guest today is Discovery Ghosts founder Patrick Cross. He's conducted over 300 paranormal investigations, many of them involving ghost activity and hauntings, and he has led numerous ghost tours. Patrick Cross, welcome to Paranormal Yacker.
Thank you, Stan. Yes, always glad to be here and yak.
When it comes to the paranormal, Patrick, you personally had many experiences, some of them outright bone-chilling. I'd like to begin my interview by asking you about some of them. From there, we'll talk about something I know you're excited about, that being your Burlington ghost walks. Your paranormal beginnings, Patrick, really started at the very beginning of your life, having grown up in a haunted house. What was that like?
Well, the main thing is when you're trying to be a kid and grow up, you're not understanding a lot as it is. And then when you're thrown into things that you don't even know what happens because nothing's been on TV yet, back in the 60s or 70s, you can't relate to anything because you can't reference anything because you're a kid, you're growing up, and all of a sudden all these things are happening. And my father was a devout Christian, so he wouldn't want to explain anything and he didn't want to help me, and my mom would just be quiet. Nobody really understood what ghosts were back then. So I mean, the only thing we ever heard about ghosts was maybe things coming out of England or cartoons or spooky stuff. When you actually experience things that are going on and you're growing up with that environment, doors opening, closing, sounds, footsteps, screeches, things got worse and worse. It's not my regular haunting, but it went into and developed into more things because I grew up in a house that was a murder house where there was 3 people that were killed, chopped up, and the bodies were chopped up and left around the house. And to this day, it's still going on. You don't know how to deal with it, and you just have to try and figure it out. Unfortunately, it got worse, and I had to deal with not only ghost activity, which I thought was a ghost, and then actually being tormented almost every night by something or some entity in my room, in my bedroom, where the closet door would open and close all the time, and I would see little red eyes staring at me, and my bed sheets would come off the bed, and just so many things that would go on that I could not explain and I could not understand. It would just leave me crying overnight.
Did you mention that to your parents? And if you did, what did they say?
Well, my dad never believed in ghosts. He knew that something was happening, but he never acknowledged it. Or yeah, it's just the air. That's the heating vents. It's the house settling. How can the house be settling after 10 years? Like, it's just, the house was basically built in Rexdale, Ontario, and the development stages. There was Indian burial grounds and a cemetery, which was all bulldozed over and cleared over to make way for new housing. And that's where the area started. And not only my house, but all the houses on the whole street were haunted and had similar things going on. I guess the native spirits were rebelling. They were tormented. Their graves were uprooted. There was a lot of things going on, and things just happening that led from one thing to another. And the more you tried to figure it out, the more it just became unexplained.
You had a demonic encounter in, of all places, a church, a place of worship, a building that one would think would be free of demons. Could you, Patrick, elaborate on the circumstances surrounding that encounter and how did you deal with it?
Well, going forward, the next 15 to 20 years, this happened around 1998, I think, because I was working with more people on starting other investigations and tours and things of that nature and ghosts. I was getting very familiar with it and I was trying to research it and figure it out. So I was working with another lady named Carolyn Bassell, who was very psychic at the time and could pick up things and very sensitive. She helped me out. So we were not really starting ghost tours in Burlington at the time, but we were investigating a lot of things that were haunted or deemed haunted, shall I say. So above all things, it's the oldest cemetery church in Burlington. It's one of the second oldest in Ontario, called St. Luke's Church, located on Ontario Street in Burlington, Ontario. It's also the site where Joseph Brant, famous fighter against the Americans and a British warrior, he is buried there after his death in 1869, underneath the church, along with his daughter and the daughter's husband, so also buried there. So Joseph Brant established Burlington Burlington, of course, was given 3,500 acres of land. The church is known as the Little White Church. Burlington's the Little White Church, and it's been in history books. It's been everywhere. It has a lot of, it's an active cemetery. The cemetery surrounds the church itself. So there is a lot of activity. I was looking for places to research and document, contacted the preacher at the time, and he said, well, this is really haunted. You can check it out and document it and see what happens. One night we were actually allowed to go into the church. He said all kinds of things happen here. Ghosts come up from the basement. There are stories of actual Indians buried underneath the church. There's French soldiers, British soldiers, all built underneath the church when it was being established, I guess as part of Joseph Brandt's clan and everything else that was going on. And interesting that there's a lot of things he wanted to know what was going on to verify. His name was Raleigh. He was quite open about it. He said, well, things happen. The hymnals move by themselves. They move in the air. The pews move, all kinds of things. You hear voices, sounds, soldiers, guns, smell of gunfire, smell of smoke, smell of gunpowder, cigar smoke, stench of some kind of entity around there. So going in there, we were in there around 7 o'clock at night. We were allowed in. Nobody else was there. The doors were open freely. We went in, myself and Carolyn. No sooner did I go in, I was kind of like stopped in my track. Carolyn was outside the door waiting, looking around, and all of a sudden the doors, bang, they closed for no reason at all. It was heavy oak doors. You couldn't really push it. You need somebody to push it. They were slammed shut. I just looked around, and all of a sudden there was just this putrid stench coming up from the floors. I could hear voices. I could hear starting screams. I could hear surrounding a room. The whole room was surrounding, not just one area. Get out and screaming and yelling. Terrifying screams. I was moving towards the front of the altar because it was a big altar, red drapes on it, red altar, red cloth. All of a sudden, bang, it all went up in flames. Just amazing. The whole altar went up in flames. There was a cross of Jesus hanging on the top. It was all wooden. It went all up in flames. All the drapes were going up in flames. Heavy smoke was coming through. It was smelling us and going, oh my God, what was going to happen? The door was locked. I couldn't move. I was stuck. Something was grabbing me and pulling me back. Something was trying to grab my legs, pulling me down. I couldn't breathe. And I just heard screeching and get out kind of thing. And just evil voices. And I couldn't breathe. The smell and the stench and everything else was just happening. I could literally smell everything going on. You could smell the black smoke and it was filling my lungs. I couldn't breathe. And I was trying to get to the door. I was almost passing out and I fell on the door. The handles opened up. I fell out of the doors. Carolyn was outside because she was trying to bang in to get me and help me. She was going, what's happening? What's going on? Why is all this smoke? And a huge bellow of smoke just came out. Black smoke everywhere. And I fell down the stairs and she was looking at me and I was all cut and I was all, bleeding and it was cut and scratched and scraped. I said, well, something just attacked me. Something got me. I was attacked. Something was out to get me, a demon or whatever entity. She looked back and she goes, the doors are wide open. She goes like, really, there's nothing there, Patrick. I go, what are you talking about? I looked back. Nothing was there. Nothing happened. Everything was perfect condition. The altar was clear. Everything was fine. The gold was, the cross was there. The drapes were not on fire. Nothing. It was all a visualization implanted on me to make it so real, but I could smell it. I could feel it. But she said, well, look, you're cut. You're bruised. I had claw marks on me. I had scrapes on my throat. Claw marks. I said, yeah, but that's real. Was it a visualization the demon put on me to make it look like to kick me out to burn me alive? Or was it something else? But it was very intense. I was dehydrated. I just had to, almost was crawling to the car. We looked back and there was huge giant mist, maybe about 10 feet tall, like a tumbleweed, just smoke everywhere, just staring at us. And I just wanted to run. I just like, get out of here, get lost, go. I just want to stay, and scared the heck out of me. One of the main things that haunted me that just terror, just extreme terror. I couldn't believe what happened.
At one point in your life, you were abducted by alien beings and experimented on. When did that happen? Where did it happen? And could you recall the experiments done on you?
Well, I think there's an interaction between a parallel universe or a wormhole or whatever you want to call it, where ghosts can come through as a portal and entities and aliens. So I think there is that interaction. It happened before, back in 2000, and probably in the 2000 period, 2001. I was living in Oakville, a rundown apartment at the time. I moved from London to Oakville with my wife. And I was kind of in between jobs. I was also going to school at the time. I was taking other courses in digital design, graphic engineering, graphic design. Just a whole bunch of things were happening in my my apartment. I don't know why. The area was just a bad area. For some reason, there was this alien ship that would appear right across the way. There was a huge ballpark. It was always lit at night, and something happened where this thing came down at night. Maybe I was interacting with aliens because my father was involved with it. He worked for NASA. He had a lot of interaction with Men in Black and things like that. Maybe it was calling me. Maybe it was, victimized. I don't know. One night I was waking up in the window. I mean, I looked in the window, and all of a sudden there was this blue streak came flying across, about 10 feet across, just a heavy blue streak, and a drill, something like powering down. It was just powering down, like a drill. You just turn on, it goes, zzz, and it's like all this blue light and everything, smoke. I was paralyzed. I couldn't move. I was on my bed. My wife was beside me. She couldn't move. She wasn't waking up. I was trying to wake her up. I couldn't move. I could only visually see anything. I can openly see with my eyes, but I couldn't move. All of a sudden, I just felt being lifted up off the bed, going into the wall. I was like, oh boy, how's this going to happen? I went through the wall. I could see the fibers in the wall and going through. I don't know how it would happen, but I could literally see everything passing through me and going through the wall. Next thing you know, I didn't wake up. I just passed out. And the next thing I remember, I woke up about 7 in the morning. I was naked, even though I had clothes on when I went to bed, and I had all kinds of dirt on my feet, and there was leaves around and everything else. I was lying upside down. It was all dirty. My wife wakes up. She goes, "What happened to you? Did you run around the forest or something? Did you go sleepwalking?" I said, "I don't know how it happened." And to this day, I still can't recall the time after I got abducted and went into the wall to the ship. I just remember lights, a silvery light, a beam of light. Something took me up. That's it. I don't remember anything to this day.
Gettysburg cited the bloodiest battle of the American Civil War, where over 50,000 Union and Confederate soldiers lost their lives, is a location you visited and investigated for paranormal activity. What were your findings?
I went to Gettysburg many years ago, my parents, when I was a young child. I really liked the experience. I didn't really get to see much of, the battlefield and things like that. I couldn't remember. I was maybe 7 or 8, maybe 10. I went back in 2019. I was doing a convention with Gettysburg Convention. I went on the battlefield, and it was just really weird because I always had this impression that I died on the battlefield. And it was July 4th. It was like a July 4th, 1863. But the battle started at that time. I clearly remember being on top of the hill. Maybe it was little, and I was holding the Confederate flag. That just brought me right back. And I'm looking at it. I was hit. I was shot, and the flag went down. And all I could hear was men saying, "The flag's gone. The flag's gone. Save the flag. We're going down." And I just was rising up, and I could look at myself, look at my body, and I was shot in the chest. That's when I just left the earth and I became spiritual. I became a spirit, a ghost. So I went on, I think it was, back there, and I felt the same experience all over again. I had some references from some photographs years and years ago. I was looking up to see maybe it was me. I found this one photo that looked almost like me, a mustache and everything else. Exactly explained the date that the flag went down and we were taken over the hill. They lost the flag and the man was shot. How is that coincidental? And I put myself in that frame of mind and the same feeling of that, the same experience of me remembering in the photograph, and that I died that day in 1863 on the battle of the Gettysburg Battle, one of the bloodiest battles that happened for 4 days. And so it was just phenomenal. And that was my calling to go back there. So I felt this whole presence of looking back and the whole battle around me and seeing things and everything else going on. And I died there at that time.
As mentioned in my intro, you organize ghost walks in Burlington, Canada. Since Paranormal Yacker has a worldwide audience, chances are a number of viewers may not have heard of Burlington, a city located on the shores of Lake Ontario between Toronto and Niagara Falls. Could you tell me something about the city?
Burlington surrounds the lake, and it's a small inlet that surrounds the area, and it was established by the British that came into Ontario. The earliest settlers were part of the British Empire, called British Loyalists. There was a lot of settling here that was going on from Britain and England. Most of the descendants are British. There are German, and there are now considered Canadian and English that are settled here. The older people that are here from the days. Burlington was well known as a apple area of farmers, and it was quite big, known all over Ontario as the apple orchards of Ontario, where most of the apples were grown. Everybody was farming and everyone was doing apples at the time. Burlington had never saw any battles, but we had a lot of regiments that were patrolling the borders, patrolling all the area. Most of the battles were fought north on the Niagara. Niagara on the lake was the Fort Niagara, and that was along where the battles were fought. Burlington was home to the Indians that were on the lake and part of the Joseph Brand's clan. The Ojibwe were here. The Mississauga Indians were also here established. So it was mostly a homestead. Ships would come in for supplies.
A bronze statue of a World War I soldier located at Burlington City Hall is said to be haunted. There have been reports of him moving his hands and making other gestures. Could you tell me more about that statue and what other paranormal activity people witnessed at the statue?
Okay, well, I started Burlington Ghost Walks back in 2001. So I've been doing this now 20 years. 20 years into, I never thought it would last that long, but we're 20 years into Burlington Ghost Walks, which is the tours around Burlington and the downtown core. There is a statue dedicated to World War I infantry for the men who fought from Burlington and Hamilton Light Infantry that went on and fought with a lot of the other British soldiers in the war, in the famous Battle of Dieppe, France, where most of the men were killed. A lot didn't return to their homeland. The statue is dedicated to the men who fought, and it is a bronze statue. There's nothing really anything particular about it. It's cast in bronze. We know it's a light infantry soldier. It's a trench soldier. It has more of a trench hat. It has a gun, trench clothes, trench jacket, a rifle. And the interesting thing is, since I was investigating this since 2001, there was always folklore tales going on. Well, that statue's haunted. There's always voices coming around. There's noise and marching and feet and all kinds of guns and around and everything else, and voices saying, protecting the city. On many occasions, I would go myself with other investigators, and we'd investigate this, record it, try to visually record it, photograph it. Finally, we got it talking, and apparently it's the ghost of Alfred Edward Johnson, who is inhabiting the statue, who died in the war of Dieppe, France, who never came back. He was a young man, about 24 years old. On many occasions, we've actually had him talking, and he says he lived a hero, he died a hero, and he's now knows he's dead. He's a ghost of the statue, protecting the city from invasion, and he doesn't want to leave. So whenever time there's fireworks or all kinds of events going on, or the festival of music or all that, he gets all freaked out, and all of a sudden goes, "Wow, I'm getting attacked, and we're getting invaded." Really, it's just the events that are going on, because it reminds him of a war attack going on or attack invasion. So he's here, that he said on many occasions that we've recorded in EVP, I'm here to protect the town. I'm here to protect the Burlington and the city. He doesn't want to move on. The interesting most part of it is that his eyes move on the statue. His eyes open and close. The rifle does move. The hands move down the rifle and shift at different times. On the anniversary of his death on August 18th at 12 midnight, the hands actually shift and move down the rifle. This sounds really strange and bizarre. Nobody really believed me. So I called on the media. I said, okay, we got Burlington Post here. We got Toronto Star. We got City TV. We're going to prove this. And they go, no, Patrick's making it up. No, there's no way it's going to happen. So sure enough, we had all these camera crews back in 2004 checking it out, standing there just before 12 o'clock. The bells go off. There's bells there. 12 midnight, bang. And everybody's watching. Cameras are focused. All the video is working. And all of a sudden, the hands literally shift on the rifle and they slide down. And they're going, yes, all right. I got it on tape. I got it on video. I got it on photos. And they all ran away. They go, that's it. Oh, Patrick's haunted. We're going to die. And nobody was left standing except the Burlington. The one woman who was brave enough to say was, I have to hand it to you, Patrick. You know what you're talking about. And you brought the ghost out. And thanks to Alfred. She was from Burlington Post and she's Kim. It was phenomenal. It went wild. It went viral on the news and CTV. Patrick conjures up ghosts and the statue comes alive and everything else. It was ever since then, our tours went sky high. Everybody wanted to see the statue. And what made it even more interesting was Alfred smokes a cigarette, believe it or not. How do you do that if you're a statue? You're solid bronze. Well, we used to hold a cigarette, and he mostly liked the hard cigarettes from the war. So we'd actually get a player's cigarette. We'd hold it roughly near him on the statue, and we'd light it for him, and we go, okay, Alfred, smoke it. And he literally starts smoking a cigarette. And the only way you can inhale a cigarette is by puffing it or inhaling it. There's no other way. And people would see the embers go on the cigarette, and we light it up, and then all this smoke would be coming out of his eyes and his nose and his mouth. Phenomenal. We got video of it on YouTube. It's phenomenal. And it's proved that life exists after death. You can do pretty well the same things you can when you're alive that you're dead. Alfred loved his cigarettes. I haven't given one for a while. She's probably mad at me. But it's just phenomenal. And we've proven this. People can't figure it out. So that got me more sensation, more media, more television. It got me more into more media and events, unbelievable old TV. And I always said it's real. I haven't made it. Nothing was made up. They tried to figure it out. They couldn't figure it out. They tried to fake it. They couldn't do it. People would hold up cigarettes and it wouldn't work. Other people would try it, wouldn't work. I guess I'm gifted. I'm very psychic. I'm very open. I'm true to my faith and I'm very spiritual. And I've always believed that if it's going to show up and it's going to be there for you, it will be there for you.
What other haunted sites do you visit on your Burlington Ghost Walk?
Well, we used to do Emma's Back Porch, the most famous restaurant in Ontario. It was the longest running restaurant till last year in 2020. Sadly, it closed down. I was there for 28, almost 25 to 28 years. It started in 1992 and it's closed down. And sadly, but it is inhabited by the ghosts of Emma Byron's and George Byron's. Of course, their dad, and they welcomed everybody there. They welcomed me, and I had some major conversations with them. We got that recorded, and Emma is still running the restaurant as she did when she was in the heyday. And she funded the war vet. She started the Girl Guides of Ontario with Henry Pellet's wife, Mary Pellet from Casa Loma. So she became very famous, very wealthy, and she was very well-to-do. She was bringing in celebrities everywhere for many years that would come and visit the restaurant and dine on her place. She's still the ghost of there, and sadly, she died later on. But even with her being there and dead, she's always been there. A lot of times appeared with her and their children, Sarah Ann, who died at the age of 4 of pneumonia, and Robert, who died at the age of 6, falling in the back on hitting his head on the rocks, and he died. She's very active, and I sadly, I don't know. I hope it'll come back. It is a designated heritage house restaurant, but we still do the ghost tours still from the Waterfront Hotel, which is on Lakeshore in downtown Burlington, which has the inhabitation or the ghost of Eliza, spelled with a Z. She is the ghost that's haunting the hotel and entices all the young men. So she was Lady of the Night, a prostitute. Many reports of her being there. She's mostly hangs out on the second floor, but she does go to the meeting rooms, and we've seen her in a big dress. She's a lady, and she's like lady in white. She's all very heavy lady, but you can smell her perfume. Many people have heard her and seen her, and we promote her on the ghost walks as well. So we talk about her and trying to get a glimpse of her. We've got a lot of pictures of all this to verify the evidence too.
Have participants in your ghost walks experienced paranormal activity at any of the sites you visited? And if they did, can you share some of them?
We don't just promote ghosts, okay? I don't just say there's a ghost there. Go over and take a picture. Like, it's not like that. I promote history. So I'm a very history buff. I'm a very haunted historian. I've always researched everything. It took me like 2 years to research everything before we did tours. It's very detailed, very thorough. So on the tours, we've had many people who have not believed, or skeptics become a believer. They've seen things, have been touched by ghosts, especially when we go to the cemetery on Ontario Place. We go into the cemetery and people have been seen ghosts come from the graves. We've seen all kinds of shadow people, all kinds of things. They've been touched. They smell the guns. They smell the cigars. They smell gunpowder. And it's very visual. And a lot of people have said, yeah, the one main thing I do remember, we had about 30, 40 people. And it was really interesting. We went into the cemetery. I was working with Michelle DeRoche was assistant to me at the time. And she's talking away to something, but nobody knows what it is. And she goes, oh yeah, I'm having a great old time. I'm talking to this old guy who's appearing, and the guy's going from, just appears out of nowhere, a ghost of some old guy. And the guy's going, what are you doing here? Why are you here? What's going on? And she's going, and nobody could figure it out because you see her talking, but there's nobody there. And she's having a great old time talking away, explaining it. And other people saw it too. You know, well, this guy died, and he was pointing out the grave. It was like 1849 or 1860 or something. We could smell heavy orange rind, heavy citrus smell of oranges, because in those days, lemon and oranges were used to put over the bodies, the dead bodies, to stop them from decaying and to cover the smell. So they would cover the orange rinds in the graves, and with heavy lemon would preserve to some extent the bodies who are in the graves, and that's what they did. We could smell. Oh, it was really just heavy scent. So she comes up. Oh well, I'm just talking to that guy who just died, and he's over there in the grave, and it was like this is ordinary conversation, but we didn't see you talking to anybody. She goes, well, he was right there. I could see him perfectly. So it was just, and other people saw him too. It's just phenomenal. And other people have been touched by other ghosts and seeing it. So it's been a lot of good experiences, things that I cannot explain that I could never believe I'd seen. Other people saw the guy, the hanged guy, the ghost that was in Village Square. He's appeared with no head, and he's walked around, just walking around with no head. People go, what's that guy? It was like Halloween. And people all thought this was made up. No. And look at the guy and double take, and the guy just disappears. And he's the guy that hangs around the clock. And Village Square, who died, someone killed him him and beheaded him, and he's still looking for his head. So just phenomenal stuff.
From what I know, Patrick, people on your ghost tours have photographed orbs, spirits, and other psychic phenomena. What were some of the more mind-boggling photos they've taken?
Well, like I said, the cemetery and the church, I got some recent ones about 2 years ago that are on my website on burlingtonghostwalks.ca. We've got images of women and different people from a time period in the windows, and Village Square again. We have children sitting on the bench. They're all looking there, and they're all disfigured faces, but they're all looking at you. They're all children. Quite a lot of things that we've captured, and I've posted that. And Emma, of course, Emma's place, Emma's back porch. We have the children literally on pipes down the basement. You can see them hanging around. We got an image of Emma. We got an amazing guy walking through a wall. This is like about 2 years ago, before Emma closed, in the bar. He's called the Thin Man. Very cool. He's just like a tall, thin guy, no head, long arms, really long body. He's walking right through the wall. I captured that when I was there, just flashed it. Got Emma as a flash. It's just phenomenal stuff. So I was able to post that. I think the most incredible one that I ever got out of all the photos I've spent, you know how you shoot so many photographs. I've maybe shot 3,000 to 4,000 photographs in the last 10 years. The handful that you get, if you're lucky, is amazing. And the one that I got the most, I still talk about, I was on CTV television talking about this, and Discovery Channel, is the photograph of a mirror. It's a giant mirror in Emma's back porch upstairs in the dining room. It's 1975. Nothing really particular about it, but if you look at it closely, there's images that are hanging around, actively waving to you in the mirror. And there's like women in parasols, and there's guys dressed up in bowler hats, and guys smoking, and oh my God, it's like, holy cow. And we got a photograph. You can see the current time, which was, I guess, maybe 2016 or something. A woman sitting in the chair, and then you look in the mirror, and it's this whole time period back in 1939. And it's the most phenomenal thing. You know, I really want to buy that mirror. I hope they sell it to me or whatever if they open up. It entrapped the spirits. There's nothing there in front of them or behind the mirror. It's in the mirror. So images are captured in this mirror from this 1939 period. Many reports have been people with, good dining up there, and they look in the mirror and they see these people waving to them, and, they're drinking away, and they go, I don't know what's happening. And it's very active. And it's like, we caught that many times. So it's the most phenomenal thing I've ever seen. You can see the present, past, all captured, clear detail in the mirror. I don't know if you've seen it on our website. Check it out. It's the most phenomenal thing. I think it's been on major websites and TV and everything.
Should the viewers of Paranormal Yacker want to receive information about Burlington Ghost Walks and find out how they can join your tours, how do they contact you?
Best thing is my email is ghostly1@bell.net. So it's ghostly1@bell.net, or you can see me on Facebook at Patrick Cross, or burlingtonghostwalks.ca, which has all the most amazing photos over the last 15, 17 years that we captured. That's always been, we're on there, and they can contact us. We are starting up tours again in August. People are now getting interested again, doing tours. We've shortened it a lot because of time span. Sadly, people are into their watch and time now. Shortened it to about an hour and 15 minutes. There's so many things to talk about. We mostly do a 360-degree tour. It's downtown core. There's parking everywhere. It's a lot of fun. I mostly do them on Friday and Saturday night. It's still $10. It is family oriented because we've done children ghost tours. So there's nothing really that bad and haunting that we've done to scare anyone. There's a lot of history, and I still promote history to this day, because if you didn't have a history, if you didn't have the past, you would not have the present.
Patrick Cross, I thank you for being my guest on Paranormal Yacker. I wish you success with Burlington Ghost Walks.
Well, thank you, Stan. It's always a pleasure to be on your show, in spirit or out of spirit. Either way, happy hauntings to you and all the best.
We'll yak again. Good luck. Bye-bye. Hi, everyone. I'm Stan Mallow, the Paranormal Yacker. I hope you enjoyed the interview you just watched. To be sure you don't miss any interviews on my free YouTube channel, all you have to do is press the subscribe button on your screen.